Hi Booktube, it's me, the Booknester. Some of you may have already seen there's a lot of little comments, and there I am, and I've been leaving them all over, probably in the past month and a half or so. Some of the booktubers, I've watched almost every one of your episodes, and they're old episodes, and I've put comments there. But you made it look really easy, you made it look very inviting, and I thought, you know, this might be something I might want to do. This is a community I want to be a part of. You know, I always used Goodreads prior to this. And it's good, but you don't know much about the personalities. How do you know if that person is reviewing a book that they typically would read and a genre they really like? And so I went out one time looking just to see if there was a review about a particular book I was thinking of ordering. And lo and behold, Booktube popped up, basically. At least that's what I found out it was called later. I started seeing these reviews, and I found out, you know, I could learn more about these individuals and what are the type of things they like. So I kind of could say, yep, their opinions are close to mine. But being a part of community, just like when you move into a new place or a new area, it's kind of hard to break in. And, you know, you have to put yourself out there. And that's what this is, me putting myself out there just a little bit. And I thought one of the better ways to kind of do that so that people can get a sense of who I might be is just by sharing some books off my bookshelf. And so these are books that there's an emotional tie. I have drugged these books well over the past 20 some odd years with me. I've drugged them from one continent to the next, and then I've drugged from one state to the next and back again. And some I thought I'd lost in a fire in 1995 and then find out no, I didn't. And one of them I haven't even read yet. Yeah, I have not even read the book yet. Want to read the book, but I haven't read it yet. So let me jump right into them. The very first one that I want to share is actually the very first book I ever bought. And I still have the copy. And this was back when I was like 7 years old. And I remember going with my mom to this independent little bookstore that was located really close to our bank. Of course, back then they were all independent bookstores. But this is Black Beauty. Now, this book itself, I thought I had lost in that fire. So back in 1995, I lost everything in an apartment fire. At least I thought I had. And everything was lost. But come to find out, this book and some of my other personal items were still at my mom's house. And so I still have this book. It now travels with me everywhere. And recently, whenever we made the decision to move yet again, we downsized considerably. So the books that I have are very carefully chosen, and I had to get rid of a lot. So that's another thing. So this is why this is, you know, this is very special because it's the first one that I ever bought. The next one that I want to bring up is the one that when somebody goes, what's your favorite book? And we all have numerous books, and we don't like to pick one book because that's kind of one-dimensional. But this is one book I always do. I always put it as one of my favorites. I have read it as an adult, which I think that's why I can still keep it as one of my favorites. And that is The Alienist by Caleb Carr. Now this book, if you look at it, and the subsequent second one in the series, it's pretty dark. I am a marketer's dream. If you have a book cover that you've designed to look anything like this, I will pick it up and I will look at it. So yes, right here, marketer's dream. This book is a historical fiction book, and it is one of the best. And this is definitely a genre I love to read, historical fiction. I like to learn as well as enjoy just a good story. And when it's done and they're brought together, it's fascinating. So I love these books. So much so that I bought the hardback because Booktube, once again, it has introduced me to Book Depository, Book Outlet, and that's where I was able to get that hardback. I like in my permanent library to have hardbacks myself, but I still have my original that I read, which is my paperback. And I didn't realize this, but I went to throw it away and I couldn't do it. This book was, I schlepped all over the New York subway. Back in the days when you used to read books on the subway, number one, you wanted small books because you didn't want your elbows out and being causing all kinds of problems, and it had to be able to fit in your bag. But it was a chunker. It was very chunky. So it's well loved, as you can tell, and for that reason, I think it's why I can't get rid of it. This is where I discovered The Alienist. This is where I discovered this book that ended up being one of my favorites. And then the last book is actually one that I haven't read. This one is also interesting because there is an emotional tie, of course, to it. And one time, early on when my husband and I were dating, we went to this bar. And I have to tell you, this bar is kind of like an English gentleman's library, the way it was set up. And it had all these books and wonderful bookshelves, and it was kind of, all leather and kind of dark. And it got us talking about books, and it got us talking about what books we like. And I mentioned I really like Russian history, and that's something since graduating college, I really started letting myself read and start learning about. Not near at the level that the Book Olive is at, so not there. So I'm looking forward to her because she has a lot of recommendations. She loves Russian history as well. So we get talking, and he asked me if I had ever read The Russia House. And I look at him, I'm like, no, but I've seen the movie. I didn't even realize it was a novel. Nowadays, almost all movies are based on a novel. He says, yes, John le Carre, have you read any of his stuff? And I was like, I don't know who that man is. So, of course, he's the author of The Russia House. As we're leaving, I went to go use the restroom, and my husband was just hanging out. And as I came out to the front of the bar at the outside of it, he said, I need you to put this in your purse. And he hands me this book. He had found it on the shelves right behind us where we were discussing The Russia House. Now, and he pinched it. So it's a stolen book. Or we could just say extendedly borrowed, maybe. I won't tell you where it's from because the hotel and I'm sure the bar are still both there. Maybe if we were having a drink somewhere in a bar, I'd tell you where it was from. But this is a book that has made it for the past 20 years. It's also another book that made it through the fire because I actually had this book in my car at the time. So the fact I haven't read it is both embarrassing and ridiculous. But I do hope to be reading it. And maybe even this year. Maybe I can finally get to it this year. So those are all some books that are personable to me that are on my bookshelves. And I hope that by sharing that a little bit that you're able to kind of pick up a little bit of who I am personality-wise. I really want to say thank you to the Booktube community overall for opening themselves up and sharing what they have so that we can have these great, amazing discussions going forward about books. Not all my friends are into books, and I think everybody here has had that experience. I have an emotional attachment to these books, as most booktubers do. And I hope that going forward that you'll be willing and wanting to watch more from the Booknester. I really look forward to having more comments and responses and communication with all of you amazing booktubers.